We have an opponent, Rube.
Yeah, same team they just played a few days ago.
Well, I think it'll look a little different.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, Eagles, Giants. I would think the game would be Saturday, most likely.
It'll be Saturday, yeah.
I would think it'll be Saturday. So we have an opponent. We have a day. And, yeah, it's a short week for the team with a bye. It's a real short week for the team that's flying home from Minneapolis right now. So 3 times. Eagles have never beaten a team 3 times in a year, but they've never had a chance. Mm-hmm. There's been 10 instances where they've played a team twice during the regular season and then played them in the playoffs. But they split 8 times. They lost both games twice, and the 2 times they lost both games, they lost the third. So, and out of the 8 that they split, they're 4-4 in the playoff game following those 8. But it's tough to beat a team 3 times, but it's also easier to beat a 9-6-1, 9-7-1 team than a 12-win team. So it's a good matchup for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think it is. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast, presented by Nissan, Reuben, Frank, Dave, Zangaro. We told you guys we'd do a pod. This will be a short one. We just wanted to kind of give our initial thoughts on the Giants beating the Vikings, that fraudulent Vikings team that we thought they were frauds, and turns out they were frauds. It was a good game, back and forth. Good game for the offenses. The defense in that game a little lacking, but the Giants get it done, and you give them credit. I mean, it's a big 31-24 win. Daniel Jones played well. Saquon Barkley played well. A few other standout performances. I thought Dexter Lawrence on defense was outstanding. They're a pretty good team, and they're feeling good right now, you'd think, in the playoffs, and it's not going to be an easy game for the Eagles, I don't think.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. The Giants are hard to figure out. You know, they were 6-2, and then they came back 3-6-1 their last 10 games. They had one of the worst records in the NFL over the last 2.5 months of the season. But they looked more like that. They looked a lot like that September, October Giants team. And when Daniel Jones doesn't make mistakes, I mean, he was killing the Vikings with his legs in the first half. I haven't even looked at his stats yet, but he was, let's see here. He was 24 for 35, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 78 yards rushing. He was in command of the game and made all the throws he had to make. They were great on third down. It's a scary opponent just because it's a team that you don't really know, I guess, what to expect from. Are they the Giants that the Eagles beat by 26 points just a month ago? I did about like 5 weeks ago, I think, today. Or are they the team we just saw against Minnesota? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I do know that if the Eagles – one thing, the Giants are very well coached. They don't make mistakes. They don't turn the ball over. And if the Eagles keep turning the ball over, it's going to be a tough game to win. I know that much.
Yeah, I mean, that's against any opponent, though.
It's against anybody, but I think the Giants more than anyone, because I think if the Eagles protect the football, I just don't see them losing to this team. But I don't think that's true with everyone. But I think that the Giants have a limited path to beat a team like the Eagles, who are coming off a bye. But the Giants don't make a lot of mistakes, and the Eagles have been. But certainly out of all the teams, I guess you'd probably rather. We kind of ranked them. I forget how we.
Yeah, I had the Seahawks as the best case scenario. Giants were second best.
Right. I think we both had.
Followed by Bucs and then Cowboys, yeah.
Yeah, we both had the same order. So they were never going to play Seattle. I mean, that would have been.
Seattle gave them a little run for a while.
For a little bit, they did. But they're just not good enough. They're just not very good. And the Niners do a lot of things really well, as we saw. But we don't have to worry about them for another week if that is the matchup. But yeah, the Giants they're a funky team to play because they run the ball well and they're opportunistic throwing it. I don't think they have a great defense, although they played well when they had to today. The Vikings did move the ball pretty well. How many yards the Vikings? Well, the Vikings only had 332 yards. The Giants were 7 for 13 on third down, 2 for 2 on fourth down, 431 yards. They played like a really good team today. They played really well, especially considering Daboll's first game, Daniel Jones' first playoff game. it's the franchise's first playoff game since I think 16. So yeah, I was surprised how well they played. I thought they would win, but I didn't think they'd look this good. And obviously it was a close game and it came down to the last few seconds, but they put up 31 points on the road in a wild card game against a team that won 13 games. So they did some impressive things.
Yeah, I agree with you. But also, the Eagles should win this game. If the Eagles lose this game, it's a massive disappointment. I mean, they're favored by 7.5 points. That could move even more. I mean, they should be heavily favored in this game. They're clearly a better team than the Giants. Now, the Giants secondary is a little healthier than the last time they saw them in that 48-22 game, but I kind of get the feeling that like if Eagles and the Giants play 50 times, the Eagles are beating them, 45 times? Like,
yeah, right about there.
They're just a much better team. And that's not to say that they should take them lightly or they should lose, but this is a good thing if you're an Eagles fan and you're kind of doing what we did last week and ranking the opponents and trying to figure out, this was the best case scenario that I thought was kind of likely. Yeah,
and how do the Giants? Are the Giants satisfied? Hey, we won a playoff game. It's a big step for us. Haven't won one in a long time. It's first playoff game they've won without Eli since 2000. It's just kind of funny. It was Kerry Collins against the Vikings, I believe. But are the Giants like content? Hey, we won a playoff game, and then they don't really show up, or are they like kind of empowered by this? Say, hey, we can play with anybody. Just won a tough game on the road. I think they're pretty well coached, and I think he'll have them prepared. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I don't think it'll be an easy game, but I do think if Jalen is 80% plus, they'll win the game.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part of this, and we'll talk about it more later in the week. But it's the two biggest questions health-wise are Jalen Hurts and Lane Johnson, and we're just really not going to know how healthy they are until they step out in the field. Like, we'll try to get hints here and there, but even like the players themselves, I don't know if they'll truly know until they're out there.
I believe
that's a little bit of a scary place to be.
You know what scares me most about the Giants is Daniel Jones running, because it just seems like the seas part for him. It's just like, I mean, he's not as fast as Jalen, but like he just kind of rolls out and everyone just runs the other way. He just runs 20 yards. It's always there for him. It's kind of weird. I think part of that's because he's evolved as a passer, and people are respecting his passing game. Man, remember how much that pick got panned by all the pundits and experts when they drafted him out of Duke? That pick was just the Giants got killed for that one. But he's turned into a nice player, and we'll see what happens here. But his running worries me. It's just more than his throwing. And Saquon is healthy, and he looked great today, catching the ball and running it. Kind of Miles was kind of ahead of them all year. I mean, you have to look at them together. The top two rushers in the NFC, they're friends, they're former college teammates. So you kind of, it's an easy comparison. And Miles had a better year for most of the year, but Saquon looks better now, which is a little concerning. We'll see how Miles looks after the bye.
That Saquon touchdown was impressive.
It really
rolling
was.
Through the defensive lineman and dragging him into the end zone. That's those quads paying off there from Saquon. Yeah, he looks really good. And they have some other weapons. Darius Slayton, even though he dropped that ball on third down, you thought, man, that might bite them. But he played a good game. Hodgins looked really good. He can play in this league.
Yeah.
They have some weapons.
Yeah, and I mean that's really them. Hodgins, Barkley, Slayton, and Daniel Jones. That's their weapons.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you have to contend with.
Yeah.
And Mike Kafka is a really good play caller, I think.
He's very good. Yeah, Mike Kafka, who knows how long he'll be there, because someone's eventually going to hire him as a head coach, you'd think.
Yeah, I would think so. And that'll be another one on the Andy Reid coaching tree. Andy drafted him in 2010, same draft class as BG, which is kind of strange to think about. BG still going strong. Kafka's playing career is way in the rearview mirror. But yeah, he does a nice job. They're aggressive. They're very disciplined on offense on both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
they got a good thing going.
Let me ask you a question about Week 18. Does that mean anything?
No,
Nothing at all.
I don't think it means a thing. I really don't think it means a thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted to play that devil's advocate a little bit because on its face, I could see some, and I've already had some fans like tweet at me and say, "Oh, the Giants' backups almost beat the Eagles with their starters in." Technically, that's true, but the Eagles were just trying to take care of business. They were going really vanilla on offense. Jalen, the game plan with him was obviously much different, and we assume it's going to be much different.
Right.
And it better be in the divisional round. So
the plan will be different, and we'll see what the results look like.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine the results wouldn't be better.
Right.
And like in hindsight, maybe this is why you go so vanilla.
I think it was twofold. I think part of it was to protect Jalen at all costs, and part of it was we might see this team in a week.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the Eagles thought, the Vikings are frauds. Giants are going to win that game. Let's just be as vanilla as possible in case we play them again. I'm pretty sure that was the case. We were saying that during the week because there was a pretty good chance. I mean, we knew Seattle's odds of beating the Niners were slim. The Giants' odds of beating the Vikings were pretty fair. Mm-hmm. So there was an honest chance this was going to be the matchup. They knew that. And they knew they might be playing them in a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I think it makes sense. I think we'll see a completely different game plan, a completely different Jalen, and a completely different right tackle.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. I would expect that, but I don't know that.
Yeah, and credit to Daboll, by the way, for resting his starters in Week 18. It was wise. He made the right decision for his team, and they looked pretty good because of it in the wild card round. Whereas you see, we'll get into the Chargers Jaguars game, but that wasn't great for the Chargers.
How did Staley not get fired yet?
Brutal.
They should fire him and hire Deuce Staley. You can keep the same name tag on his office door.
I like that.
Yeah, just keep the same sign up.
But anything else stand out from the Giants that you want to bring up from this game?
I don't think so. You mentioned Dexter Lawrence. Well, yeah, I'm just looking here.
God, he's a monster.
Four quarterback hits, a tackle for loss.
The amazing thing about him is he plays so much. For being this giant nose tackle, I think he played over 50 snaps today.
Yeah, he's a beast.
And he's so effective from the beginning to the end of the game. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, and they got I think Adoree Jackson.
I hope Kirk Cousins is okay from that brutal shot Dexter Lawrence gave him on that roughing the passer.
Kirk Cousins just manages.
Kirk's going to be able to walk tonight.
He just comes up small in these games. I think that's why a lot of Eagles fans would rather see the Vikings eventually. Obviously, that couldn't happen, but yeah, if I'm I'd rather see the Vikings. Not that they could have played them, but I'd rather face Kirk Cousins than Daniel Jones. Kirk Cousins there's just something. He's one of those guys who just puts up great regular season stats, his numbers are really good today. Mm-hmm. 31 for 39, 273, 2 touchdowns, no picks, but he just doesn't win this game.
Very Romo-like.
Yeah, that's fair.
Big numbers, great regular season quarterback.
Yeah,
it was it was nighttime and Kirk knew it. And it's like they started the game in the afternoon and by the end of it he was like, uh-oh, it's dark outside.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to watch Lane against these edge rushers because it's not like you're seeing Dallas in the first round where you have DeMarcus Lawrence or Micah Parsons, but Thibodeau's a really good rookie and Ojulari, I don't know if he'll be. I don't know what that injury was, if he'll be back, but decent edge rushers.
He's a good player, yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, it's the Nissan Thrill of the Drive event, so gift yourself what you really want this holiday season and shop your local Nissan store or visit nissanusa.com today. Just like the holidays, these offers won't last.
Opioid addiction is a national public health crisis. The Someone You Know podcast from the Independence Blue Cross Foundation offers inspiring stories that challenge stigma, offer hope, and humanize the disease of addiction. Download the new Season 3 of Someone You Know on all major podcast platforms. All right, Rube, we have some futures, NFL futures odds here powered by PointsBet. The Eagles right now plus 500 to win it all. They are the fourth longest odds in the field behind the Chiefs, Bills, and 49ers at plus 450. So the 49ers, even though they're the 2 seed, have shorter odds. Kind of hard to argue that the way they've been playing.
Yeah, honestly, it is. You keep waiting for Brock Purdy to come back to earth, but and God, I had all these people tweeting me saying he's just Ty Detmer. I mean, Ty Detmer, I don't think people understand. Ty Detmer didn't even start a game till he was 29 years old. I mean, this kid is a 23-year-old rookie who's 6-0 and has played great, lights out in every one of those games. Obviously, it helps that he's got incredible weapons and a hell of a coach, but he's making all the right decisions. He's escaping trouble out of the in the pocket. He's smart. He's not making mistakes. That one play, I think Brandon Ayuk dropped it in the right corner of the end zone. I think that was like the most impressive play he made. And D'Amico's defense is really, really good. Number 1 defense in the league by 15 yards over the Eagles. So I can see that. That would be a hell of an NFC Championship game. I think it's the one we're going to get, and it's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. And you look at the rest of those, the odds here. The Cowboys at plus 1,300. Obviously, they haven't played yet. If they advance, I'm assuming that would be a little better. And then the Bucks, the Giants plus 2,500. So the Giants right now, even though they've made it past the wild card round, have longer odds than the Cowboys. Is that fair?
No. I mean, it's fair in that they know more than I do, the people setting these odds. But as an outsider, I wouldn't say that. But yeah, it's probably it could be accurate. I mean, the Cowboys are more talented than the Giants. The Giants are way better coached.
Mm-hmm. If you had the Giants coaching staff with the Cowboys talent, then you'd have something.
Then you'd have the Eagles.
That's fair. All right, it's time to get your swagger back with PointsBet Sportsbook. PointsBet, your move. Rube, the other games this weekend, looking at the scores here in front of me, it started off the weekend with that what was first? Oh, the 49ers Seahawks. Seahawks kept it close for a while, 17 points in the second quarter. They take a lead into halftime. You had a feeling it wasn't going to last.
And it was still 23-17. It was still a 6-point game in the fourth quarter. But yeah, you could just see the floodgates were about to open. They're just not good enough. They have to play a perfect game to beat the 49ers, and they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the 49ers are just tough right now. And no matter who they play next weekend, it's going to be tough to beat them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think, the last couple of weeks they've given up some yards and some points. I mean, I was beginning to think they were going to give up like more than 10 points again, but so there's at least maybe a glimmer of hope that you can move the ball against them. Yeah. But I mean, Brock Purdy is he's the biggest story in football. And I don't think people understand how rare it is. He's the first rookie drafted in the 7th round or later to ever win a playoff game. Period.
I was watching Skylar Thompson today, and it's just like the difference between 2 7th-round picks. Like
he was taken, I think, 15 picks before Brock Purdy. Yeah. And he made some big throws, and they dropped some on him. Yeah. They didn't do him any favors, and I think he probably played. I mean, his numbers were pretty ugly, but he probably played as well as they could have hoped, considering the circumstances. Yeah. Because rookie, only one other 7th-round picks ever won a playoff game, period, at any point in his career. That was Pat Hayden. Pat Hayden, like in 75. I don't think people understand how rare it is. Somebody was comparing it to Ty Detmer. Brock Purdy, in his last 6 games, has 4 games with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. Ty Detmer played 11 years and had 1 game with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, and it was when he was 34 years old. So, this kid just turned 23. He was the last player taken in the draft. And yes, he has good players around, great players around him, but he's making all the right decisions, all the right throws. I don't care if he can't throw the ball 70 yards. Drew Brees won a Super Bowl without throwing a pass more than, I think, 23 yards. So at some point, he's going to come back down to earth. But it's scary how well they're playing.
Yeah, and those weapons are just dynamic. And
yeah.
He gets them the ball. He's kind of point guarding it out there.
Yeah, which there's nothing wrong with that. If you had those weapons, that's, somebody was complaining, well, all he does is throw to open guys. Well, isn't that kind of the idea? Like, you want him to throw to guys who are covered? Like, I don't know.
I mean, Shanahan's doing a great job.
That's become a criticism of Brock Purdy. All he does is throw to open guys. Well, if you can do that, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and look, I like, if the criticism is he wouldn't have this much success with a different team, well, yeah, probably.
Of course.
But
for anyone.
Yeah.
Would Kurt Warner have been the MVP his first year as a starter, which, by the way, was his 6th year of pro football, if he didn't have Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Marshall Faulk? Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Give the kids some credit. So I do think the Eagles win that game, but it'll be a fun game, hell of a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll have time to get into that. But the Chargers game, Jags, I mean, crazy.
Just Doug being Doug. And he's instilled so much belief in that team and in that young quarterback. I just think it takes so much mental toughness and physical toughness to throw 4 interceptions in the first half and just come back out and keep flinging it and have confidence and believe in yourself and believe in your teammates and your coach. And, Doug, this is where Doug's at his best when things aren't going well. And we saw that here really early on and up through 18. I mean, his ability to navigate his team through adversity is unparalleled from anyone I've seen ever in this game. And he did it again. He just knows the right thing to say, the right way to, when to be tough on a guy, when to go, soft on them, when they need a pep talk, when to just leave him alone. And he just, it didn't hurt that our boy Cameron Dicker missed his second field goal of the year.
Yeah.
Probably cost him the game, but Chargers really small.
He did make 3.
He did make 3.
Including a 50-yarder. So.
A career-long 50-yarder, yeah. But Doug is just, he's a special coach. He needed that year off so bad. He just looks like a different guy, rejuvenated, invigorated, and just doing a hell of a job with a franchise that was in shambles, in like utter shambles a year ago.
Yeah. Give Doug a ton of credit. Happy for him too.
Yeah, and he's got a young quarterback who really showed me a lot, the way he bounced back.
Mm-hmm. Those were the games on Saturday, and then the early game today. The Dolphins, give them a ton of credit. They made that a game. They had a chance to win it, and the Bills just outlasted them. But that was a heck of a performance from Miami without their starting quarterback and their backup.
Yeah, and that's a lot of teams with quarterback issues, obviously injuries. Mike McDaniel did a great job. That's a really hard place to play, and that's a really good team they went up against. It's a great rivalry, and I thought it was going to be a blowout. I thought the Bills were going to win that game by 23 points, and I don't know why I said 23, but by 20 or more. They really needed to make some plays down the stretch to put that thing away. It's had to be a mentally exhausting stretch here for the Bills with everything that's going on. I mean, Damar Hamlin's doing great, and that's incredible. But they've been through a lot. Had a game canceled. I mean, it's just been crazy. By the way, we're sitting here talking about Sean McDermott, Andy Reid assistant, Doug Peterson, Andy Reid assistant. John Harbaugh's playing right now with his 3rd string quarterback or 2nd string. I don't know who's playing. I think Huntley might be playing. So these Andy Reid coaching tree guys are all over the place.
Yeah, it's one of the more fascinating things in the league, honestly, is how many guys have come from Andy. To me, it's like even before he won the Super Bowl out there, like I thought that was a really interesting piece of his resume for Hall of Fame consideration. Like when you've pretty much created a third of the coaches in the league, I mean, you're leaving a huge imprint on the game.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do it. They all the Andy Reid coaching tree guys would have dinner at the combine every year. You go into a restaurant, you get a table for 14, please. you know, uh, yeah, they're all close. I mean, Ron Rivera, I thought did a good job up until like 2 weeks left, and I don't know what he was thinking, but yeah, Matt Nagy was coach of the year a few years ago, so Kafka's going to be coach. I would think it's someday Eric Bieniemy. I'm starting to think he might not ever get a shot, but that tree's only gonna get bigger.
Yeah. All right, the last thing I have here: Cowboys Bucks. Who you got on Monday night?
I still think the Cowboys are going to win.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they don't. They've lost 8 straight road playoff games, and that's the game. It's like, I mean, if you're an Eagles fan, and it looked for a while like that, that game would determine who they play. If the Seahawks and Giants have both lost, but it's like two real enemies of Philadelphia. I mean, Tom Brady and the Cowboys. Dak. So I think the Cowboys, but I mean, they could easily lose that game. As bad as Tampa is, and they're not very good. Dallas has 100 times more talent, but there's something about the Cowboys when playoff time comes around. They buckle.
They do. Let me ask you, if you're an Eagles fan, right? What do you think you root for there?
It's a good question.
Because it's not just about that game. It's about like, all right, well, because at least from my vantage point, the 49ers are the biggest threat in the NFC. So do you try to root for the team you think can knock off the 49ers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think
that would be the Cowboys.
That would be Dallas. So you root for the Cowboys, and the Eagles would have, I think, an easier time beating the Cowboys at home than the 49ers. So, yeah.
Could you imagine that? Giants in the divisional round, Cowboys in the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, they've never played 2 division opponents.
That'd be crazy
in a single postseason. So yeah, that would be something. And then maybe they play Washington in the Super Bowl.
Ron Rivera thinks that's a possibility.
Yeah, unless Carson plays.
All right. If you guys enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. This was just a bonus pod. We'll be back with you guys on Tuesday, getting really ready for this Giants game. That's it. For Rube, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.